I'm Tristan Pace. This is your co-host Cole Bird.
Roll Tide.
Um, Today we got a couple of points we're going to go through. Please like, please subscribe. We're a growing channel. Everything helps. Do not hesitate. It is free. It doesn't cost a thing. Please like and subscribe. The first thing we're going to go through, Cole, is the SEC just released the schedules for each SEC team for the 2024 season. It's a super exciting, super fun to talk about. We could go through every single SEC team if we wanted to, but we're not. This is an Alabama channel. This is an Alabama-centric channel. Today, we're just going to focus on Alabama. Maybe later when the season approaches next year, we're going to go through all these schedules. We'll have plenty of time to do that. But for right now, I want to go through the Alabama schedule just to get – we've talked about it a little bit pre-show. But let's just go through the schedule. First off, I want to talk about the first part of the schedule. And the Alabama 2024 schedule is going to start with 2 home games. And then we're going to have 1 away game in week 3. That's at Wisconsin, which I think is super interesting. Wisconsin today just got their quarterback. And who is that going to be? That's going to be Tyler Van Dyke from the University of Miami. So Alabama is going to go on the road to Wisconsin to face Tyler Van Dyke, who I would presume will be the starting quarterback for Wisconsin when Alabama faces him in 2024. The first game is going to be Western Kentucky, which it's a cupcake game. Yes, I hate soft cupcake season openers. I really do. Used to it would be the at Wisconsin or whatever for like the first game, like in 2015 when Alabama played Wisconsin in the first game.
I think that was Derrick Henry, wasn't it?
That was Derrick Henry's Heisman year, I believe so, yes. And I do sort of wish that was, a little bit reversed. Like I wish we could just play Wisconsin for the first game and, have that good season opener, but it is what it is. And then for that second week, we're going to have the University of South Florida at home, which could be basically a revenge game because that's a lot of the narrative that's been the lead up to this college football playoff conversation is, well, Alabama only scored 17 points against UCF. Maybe that'll have a bad taste in their mouth. Maybe they'll play a little bit better in that game. Give me your
UCF.
Those first 3 games. Western Kentucky, University of South Florida, and then at Wisconsin.
Hey, we struggled with them this year. I know for the first half for sure it was 3-3. But to our discredit, we had a dang lacrosse player at quarterback, which we covered that last podcast. But listen, Milroe should be after this season. He should have his nerves, and he should come out there and have a Heisman season this year. That's going to be my prediction. But we always start slow, so hopefully we put up some big numbers against those 2 teams. Western Kentucky, USF, and then Wisconsin. We should blow them out as well. But I think it's great. I personally like the cupcake schedule, especially when you have such a hard schedule like we do next year. After these 3 games, who's next. The previous number 1 team in the country for the past 2 years. So I like that we get three games where we can get our shit together and figure out what kind of new team we are, because it will be a new team. We'll lose some players to the draft. So I like that concept. But we should – if Saban's still coaching, it should be a win by 20-plus this first 3 games.
Yeah, I think look, we've already played – Nick Saban has already played Luke Fickell once. I was at that game when he was the coach of Cincinnati. He played Cincinnati at Jerry World. We had a lot of success against them, but that was they were. We were playing a group of 5 team. So now Luke Fickell will be in his second year as a major Power 5 head coach. And he's going to have his time with the transfer portal during this offseason. We've already seen that with him getting, I think Tyler Van Dyke, if I'm not mistaken, was a 5-star quarterback coming out of high school. So he's got his 5-star quarterback. Not that he's been lights out or a star by any means, but, also he could
Hey,
be a
different system. He could have success. You never know.
and, we see that a lot is
Yep.
like look at Bo Nix. I mean, even though Bo Nix did beat Alabama and he was like freshman of the year in SEC, like a lot of times, like it just doesn't work out. And sometimes guys need to see a different program. They just need to see a different style of play for them to be successful. Maybe that's a part of them seeing a different side of the offense, or maybe that's just getting more experience by having more years of play. So we're going to see what kind of team Wisconsin is and what kind of team Luke Fickell puts together
Yeah,
in the
that's right.
2024 season, because they're going to be playing presumably
big boys.
If Alabama wins the national championship this year, will be the number 1 team going into that game against Wisconsin at Wisconsin. So we're basically, how Wisconsin plays in that game, whether or not they're, preseason ranked, even if they win or lose, it doesn't matter. How they play in that game against Alabama will sort of set the tone for Luke Fickell and his football program going forward in the season.
Yep.
So that
Agreed.
should be a really fun game to watch. I think Alabama will win that game and go into their bye week before Georgia 3-0 in Bryant-Denny Stadium. So that's what we're going to start with next. Next, let's start with these 4 games right here. We got Georgia, and then we got at Vanderbilt.
The gridiron. Hey, we need to go to that one.
Yeah, we could. Hey, you never know. We'll see how things play out. I mean, I suspect that Alabama will be undefeated going into that season, and I suspect Georgia will be too. I mean, there's just really honestly no way that they're not. There's really no way that game in the regular season is not going to be one of the biggest games in the regular season leading up to that football game. There's just no way that it's not.
Which is crazy. It's crazy that Georgia and Alabama are going to be a week 4 matchup. Week 5, whatever it comes out to. It's
happened before. Because, before this new sort of scheduling, even the old scheduling, the way that I remember it is for a while there, Alabama would alternate between Florida and Georgia every year in the regular season. Like in 2015, we played Georgia in the regular
season. Yeah. All right,
yeah.
Blackout game or whatever. Isn't that one of them?
Yeah, I think Georgia does that. Georgia blacks out when Alabama plays Georgia at home. That was in 2008 when they had no Sean Marino.
Yep, no show Marino.
Yeah. So that should be an interesting game, and obviously I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Alabama wins that game. Obviously, we don't know the details because we're not there yet. We're just going through these things arbitrarily. So the next game we have is at Vandy, and the reason why I think this game is important, Cole, is that for this reason and this reason only, is because not only that you're playing Vanderbilt as an SEC, basically in conference game, but you get that game away. So that basically takes away from maybe an at or an away game that you would have that was otherwise be difficult. See, I would rather play at Vandy than at Florida or at Arkansas or at South Carolina, even though those games are so-called wins or whatever. The best away in conference game that you could possibly get as a slot in your schedule is Vanderbilt. That is a gimme, and Bama gets that, which is actually a super positive, even though looking at the schedule in the forefront looks somewhat difficult. That Vandy at Vandy away game takes away one of those difficult away games otherwise be, and I think that's a huge positive for Alabama.
Agreed.
You think so?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's a freebie.
It really is a freebie. It really is. So that's a win for Alabama. Okay, well, here's when things get really a lot more difficult. After that, they get South Carolina at home. Shane Beamer, he'll probably pull out every trick play he's got in the book. Shane Beamer gets up for big games. He loves to get up for big games. He loves to put some saucy plays in there. I mean, I know they're not going to be without Spencer Rattler. I would suspect that South Carolina would get a transfer quarterback out of the portal.
Shane's one of those grimy coaches now. He'll work. I think South Carolina will work the portal very well this over.
Well, that's what I'm saying is even though we're looking at the schedule, this is the SEC, and I'm telling you, South Carolina, they might have some spooky
Oh
shit
my
going on.
God.
You know what I'm saying? They might have some spooky shit.
Holy crap.
So you never know, and I don't want to discount any football team, whether it's at home or not. I mean, I think obviously Alabama would be the more physical and talented team, but you never know what South Carolina and old Beamer is going to pull out the butt. So I think at that point, if they beat Georgia, they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 0 going into Neyland Stadium at Tennessee. Give me your predictions on that Tennessee game. What do you think? What do you think we're going to see going into Neyland Stadium, Tennessee, the third Saturday in October?
Ever since last year and they beat us, Tennessee fans, they got this down. They got this false hope in their hearts and minds. So they're gonna pack that stadium. They're gonna come in there thinking they're gonna whoop our ass. It's gonna be the same thing we saw this year until we shut their ass down. So it's gonna be a gritty ass game. Honestly, I think the Tennessee Bama rivalry is worse than the Georgia and Alabama rivalry. That's just my honest opinion. Living around these Tennessee folks for the past couple of years.
Well, you're biased because you're in Tennessee.
So yeah, enemy territory for real.
Look, I'll say, hey, Tennessee.
I mean, listen. I've heard stories. I can't even remember who told me the story. I can't even remember who, but they went to Knoxville one time and got their ass beat by a bunch of Tennessee fans. And then I've heard a story of a bunch of Alabama people beating the shit out of Knoxville, Tennessee fans in Bryant-Denny.
Yeah, it's a really visceral kind of rivalry.
I
the
swear.
thing is, and I've heard Stephen A. Smith say this, in order for it to be a rivalry, the other side has to win first.
Well, they did it.
Tennessee's only won one game in the last 16 years.
They got bragging rights. They did it.
I mean, they did it. They did it. And
now this next year is going to prove it, though. Prove if we're still on top or not. Because this year could have been a fluke, yada, yada, yada. Joe Milton, yada, yada, yada. But this next year coming up is going to prove everything.
Well, who's going to be their quarterback is my question.
You don't think Judge stays? Or will he be a senior this year? Is he a senior?
They have the backup Lavea guy.
Oh, he's good.
Nico, I want to say. And I think he's better than Joe Milton. I think that Nico Lavea, Tennessee would have been better off this year.
The kid from Hawaii, I think.
Yes, I think so. I think
he's
that they would have been better off starting him.
Agreed.
Joe Milton's just not it.
Agreed. He's got a cannon, but you know what's weird is Joe Milton and Milroe are very comparable. But Milroe just has this.
I don't think so because Joe Milton doesn't have he does not have the athletic ability on his feet that Jalen Milroe has. He doesn't have that fluidity.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Milroe has this I don't know what he just does it. He can do it.
Yeah, he's got the X factor. He's got the X factor, which we're going to get into here in a second. But let's go ahead and finish off the. I think Alabama's going to win. Okay, I think Alabama's going to beat Tennessee because that's what history tells me that they will win.
Yep.
And Jalen Milroe at that point, it doesn't matter who's the quarterback on the other side.
Wow.
I'm going to trust him. You know what I mean? I'm going to trust Jalen Milroe from here on out. Okay. I'm not doubting him to go out there, even if it's close. Okay. Even if he makes some mistakes, I'm still going to trust him to win the football game regardless now. Okay. Now it doesn't get any easier. Okay. In this latter part of the schedule, They have Missouri at
LSU.
home.
Oh,
They have Missouri at
Drinkowitz.
home.
Damn.
We've got to play Drink, and Brady Cook is coming back. I don't know about Cody Schrader. I think he's going in, but Missouri has just been an all-around good,
Wow.
well-coached football team.
The job he's done is
Drink's a great coach. And the crazy thing about it is a lot of people before this season, now people aren't talking anymore, but before people were like making fun of Drinkowitz, like he's a nerd.
Yeah, I saw that. I
and
saw
a
that.
goofball, and he's like, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. But when you
Because they got that
Missouri
recruit
play,
and he went crazy or whatever.
he did. So to be quite honest with you, what in the F is everybody talking about? He showed it.
It worked.
Let's just try to imagine a world where Missouri beats Georgia. Like, it's possible. They almost beat them not this year, but last year, Georgia's closest game. I want to say it was last year, was it not? Georgia's closest game was Missouri. Missouri almost beat Georgia. And if Drinkowitz wins one of those two games and beats Georgia, we're talking about him in a completely different light. We're talking about Drinkowitz in a completely different light just because he played Georgia close twice, just because he played the game close. And there's no reason why, if he can't play Georgia close, he can't play Alabama close and any other team in the country close. So I'm not going to doubt him. I'm not doubting any of these teams. The only thing that we're giving in this schedule is at Vandy, that away game. Like I said, I think you can.
I don't know, the first three.
The
first two are gimmies. Come on.
The first two are given. The first three, I would say. I mean, I don't think Luke Fickell's beating Alabama. There's just no way. There's just no fucking way. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
And then we have a bye week after Missouri. Hopefully we can escape that. And then we got to go to, and this is when the schedule starts to look familiar beyond the Tennessee game, is LSU. And that's going to be in Baton Rouge.
Always a tough one.
It's so fucking hard playing in Baton Rouge.
Always a tough one.
And that game is going to depend on what Brian Kelly decides to do with his quarterback position and what he decides to do on the defensive side of the ball. Because if he doesn't get it together, he needs to either hire a new coordinator or he needs to get. If you're LSU, you've got to figure out what to do on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
Yes, they have Harold Perkins, but he did not live up to what I think it was too much for him as a player to overcome because they were so lackluster in so many other positions. And I'll say this. Let me tell you this, Cole. Now, this might be, and I'm diehard Alabama fan all the way, but if LSU has a defense, they are winning the national championship.
With Jane Daniels?
They are winning the national championship if they have a defense.
Oh my! Last year was their year. Is all I'm saying. Last year was their fucking year. They went to the SEC champ. They did. I mean, wow. And their defense Jane Daniels can't keep up with that. It's just like Bryce Young. Bryce Young couldn't keep up with it because our defense was so garbage.
Yep. And I'm not one of these people. To discount Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly is a good coach.
Agreed, yeah.
Brian Kelly can win a national championship. Make no mistake about it.
He's been there. He played and wasn't he the coach at Notre Dame when we blew their brakes out? But he still made it there, didn't he?
Notre Dame.
Yeah, at Notre Dame.
And people want to say, "Oh, it's Notre Dame." It's Notre Dame, but look at them this year. They had a good quarterback. They had this, but look at who's their coach. Who, quite honestly, I don't like, and he's too worried about himself. And if they had a better coach, Notre Dame could be better. And it's only a matter of time before he gets fired. Mark my words. I can't remember his name.
Marcus Freeman.
He's going to be out. Notre Dame fans will get tired of him. They're not going to be able to worship touchdown Jesus as much as they want to, and he is going to be out. Brian Kelly's a good coach, and I'll be honest with you. LSU always scares the shit out of me. Do they not? You?
Dude, the two teams that always scare the shit out of me. I'm really not scared of any other team is Tennessee and LSU.
But I'm not scared of Tennessee because we always beat Tennessee.
Well,
but it doesn't matter how bad of a team Auburn has; they have a chance. But if Tennessee is bad, they're
Take
not
that back.
beating
There's
Alabama.
There's
Alabama,
3 teams.
the only reason that
Auburn.
Tennessee can beat Alabama, Tennessee has to have a good team to beat Alabama. Auburn does not have to have a Auburn can beat Alabama with a mediocre team just because of history.
just because it's the Iron Bowl.
Just because it's the Iron Bowl.
Agreed.
Which leads us to the Iron Bowl of next year, which will we'll have the advantage of being in Bryant-Denny Stadium. But that's why a lot of these teams, a lot of this stuff is hard to predict, is because we don't know who these guys' quarterbacks are going to be.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the quarterback of Auburn next year?
Who's going to be the quarterback at LSU?
Exactly. It could be Nussmeier. I mean, maybe Nussmeier. I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about Nussmeier, and I want to say he came from A&M, maybe.
Listen, our chances of beating LSU go up exponentially when Jane Daniels goes to the NFL.
I agree, but but I agree with you. But here's the thing: this is what scares me, Cole. Is this Alabama can get beat by LSU with a LSU mediocre quarterback if LSU has a good defense.
Well,
Think about LSU with a good defense. If LSU has a good defense, even with a mediocre offense, even less than what they had this year, if they upgrade their defense, they will always have a chance against Alabama, especially in a year like this when they're playing Alabama in Baton Rouge.
Very true.
So especially like you take it back to the old days, like it was like I think we played them back to back one year for the championship. I think it was like 10-7 was the final score or something.
2011.
Insane. Like defense ruled the sport.
Yes, but the sport's changed. And if LSU has a decent defense, let's be honest, LSU's defense was god awful. I mean, it's just so bad.
This year, yeah.
Well, it's just terrible. And you have Malik Neighbors, who's a first-round pick. They have Kyron Lacey, Thomas Jr. I mean, to be quite honest with you, I think those guys are elite wide receivers. And you have a Heisman Trophy quarterback. Your defense is so bad that good of an offense can't overcome that bad of a defense.
Well, that's Bryce Young.
Huh?
I mean, that's what Bryce Young went through.
It is. It is what Bryce Young went through.
He won and lost 2 games.
But look, it depends on who Auburn's quarterback is, and I'll go out on a limb here. I think Auburn is going to go get Cam Ward from Washington State.
Ew.
Cam Ward from Washington State. He puts up crazy numbers. He's a good quarterback. I think he would be a good fit for Auburn. Auburn is flipping the they're starting to recruit good. Hugh Freeze is a good coach, and he is a good recruiter. And to be quite honest with you, it scares the living hell out of me. All right.
We talked about this at the beginning of the season when they hired him.
My final prediction, of course, is Alabama will go 12-0, win the SEC championship and a second in a row national championship after we win this one. All right, that is my official prediction. No, it's going to be a hell of a gauntlet. We're forgetting one team. I'm forgetting Oklahoma. We have to play Oklahoma after Mercer. So that's what's going to be tough is we're going to have to play a probably good Oklahoma team and then play Auburn. I mean, that's scary. I don't know if Alabama can get through this next season without at least one loss. If they do, I don't think that there's anybody that can stop them in the SEC championship. No. If they go through that schedule and win every game, then there's no way they're winning all those
games.
Winning
it all.
They're winning it all.
It's over. It's over.
Now, if they have one loss and going into the SEC championship, they have a good chance. Now, even if they have 2 losses, that's when we'll start talking about, do they deserve a spot in the playoffs? I don't know. I don't want to say deserve. I don't know how the criteria is going to be, but do they get in the playoffs with 2 losses? Let's say a loss at, LSU or Auburn or Oklahoma, I don't know, or Georgia. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see.
especially with 12 spots.
Let's talk about this moving on into the next point. Saban is retiring, yes or no?
No, there's no chance. I mean, to everybody else, yes, because they don't want to see him coach anymore. But they don't want to see Bama.
Yeah, you sent me that picture of Georgia. Was that UGAsports.com? I think it was.
I think so. No. Yeah, I think it was.
Some kind of Georgia website, and they're posting that Nick Saban is retiring and all this. You have to remember,
Give me a break.
It's silly because, by the way, we got Ryan Williams, who I've heard is, all right, I don't know if you're ready for this, but according to scouts and analysts,
Saraland, Alabama. He grew up 30 minutes from Gulf Shores, Alabama.
Well, according to Alabama, our NIL branch and all these things, he's the best Alabama wide receiver to come out of a high school prospect since Julio Jones.
Foley, Alabama, too. He grew up 5 minutes.
I believed him when they talked about Caleb Downs coming out and being a prospect. Not a prospect, because there's a lot of players that come out of high school who are prospects. But Caleb Downs came out as a player. Not a prospect, because a prospect means we don't know what you're going to do. We just think you're going to be good. Caleb Downs came out as a player. He came out on the field intelligent, hard-nosed, plays good football. Ryan Williams, now you have to remember, he's a junior. And he is going to, he's not going to play his senior season in high school now.
Yeah, he reclassified, yeah.
He reclassified, and every Alabama recruiter knew this 6 months ago. They already knew. They were talking to him. He said, I'm reclassifying and coming in this year. Hopefully, my fear is, we know he's a good athlete, but my fear is that Ryan Williams may not. He might be a little bit too young, and he might not be able to adapt as well because he's a year behind. I hope that's not the case. But do you think that's a possibility?
I mean, it always is. But I know one thing. That the ball down there they take football down there serious in the LA, Lower Alabama. It's where Julio played Foley. Saraland's not too far from Foley either. So he should. Well, I mean, they're not going to start him as a freshman either.
Well, I'll say the big thing that he said, wherever I go, I want to start.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
So maybe I'm thinking, and this goes back to the Saban retiring thing, is this. He told Ryan Williams, he said, look, I'm coaching till I die. I'm not leaving. I'm coaching till I die. So what's funny to me is Nick Saban himself is telling recruits one thing, but UGAsports.com is saying another. Why is that? It's because
they have inside sources.
I'll tell you why they're doing this. It's because they know that signing day is coming, and that's a big selling point for recruits that they think they have, is saying, oh, why are you committing to Alabama? Why are you committing to Alabama? Nick Saban's about to leave. You don't want to go there.
Yeah.
And so that's why they're doing that, is they're trying to put some kind of doubt in these recruits' minds about, okay, maybe I shouldn't go to Alabama because maybe Nick Saban's going to be gone, I think. And that's the whole reason they're putting this out. They know they made it up. They know they're full of shit. They know they're lying, okay? They're so totally lying about this because they're scared. And it's the same old story, okay, about trying to put fear in these kids' mind that, Nick Saban's leaving. He's not even going to be there by the time you get there. But what they don't understand is Nick Saban already went to these recruits and said, hey, I'm going to be here when you get here.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to remember. What do you think?
Agreed.
Totally agree.
All right. So I know you have your notes on this. This is the last point we're going to go through. We're 30 minutes in here. The X factors, okay, for the playoffs and each team. First, actually, let's start with Michigan. I want you to give me your X factor for Michigan winning the Rose Bowl and beating Alabama and advancing to the college football national championship. What is the path for J.J. McCarthy, Blake Corum, the offense, that defense, the special teams, all of it? What can Michigan do to create a path to win and finally claim that national championship for Jim Harbaugh?
I think it's clock control and Blake Corum. I think you said it. Blake Corum needs to. I think Blake Corum needs to have 100+ rushing yards for Michigan to win. That's for sure. But I take it back to this year when Texas beat us. They had 358, I think, passing yards, and that's a stout number for sure. I haven't really researched Michigan's offense that much, their receivers or anything like that. So I don't know if they have any explosive players on the outside, but they definitely need to have 250+ passing at least as well. On Caleb Downs, Terrion, Kool-Aid, all of them. They need to. They're gonna have to have a lifetime game, in my opinion, to beat us. To beat the defense we have, because I mean Texas did for sure, and look, Texas beat us and they're in the national. They're in the playoffs. That's my honest opinion.
And the only reason they're in is because they beat Alabama.
Probably.
Oh, 100%. And they had to take Texas because they wanted to take Alabama. And they said,
Agreed.
well, we got to put both of them in. And that's it. That's as simple as it gets. We talked about that in previous podcasts. Yep. It doesn't go anything beyond that. Texas beat Alabama. Alabama beat Georgia. Therefore, they're both in. Sorry, Florida State. It has nothing to do with them. It's just that they're better. That's it. All right? So
hey,
I
agree with you. Look at Kirk Herbstreit's Twitter.
I heard.
He explained it perfect today.
Oh, he did?
He did.
Well, that's good. Good for him. We love us some Kirby. And you know the thing about Kirk Herbstreit that I've always admired, you never agree with anybody on everything, but Kirk Herbstreit he's unbiased in his love for college football. He just likes college football. He wants to see the best teams, and he's not so naive as to think that Alabama isn't good.
Mm-hmm.
He said it before the season even started. He said, look, this team's got a chip on their shoulder. He said, look, I'm not betting against this team. And he was right. Everybody, and I remember reading the comments, and it was all Georgia fans saying, oh, thanks for fueling the fire, Kirby. No. Yep. You didn't look at the right fire that was being fed. It was the Alabama Crimson Tide fire that was being fed all season. And you look at how hungry it made them. They felt disrespected. They were pissed off. And that's what created this situation, which we are thankful for. Amen.
Amen.
I agree with you 100%. Michigan has to establish the run, and they have to establish the run early. They want to feed Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, who is another great backup running back that they have. They have serious depth there on the offensive line but see, Alabama, they've always specialized in stopping the run. So if they can play to what they do and stop that, I don't really want to get into Alabama too much, but they have to establish the run, because when they establish Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards as good running backs, that will actually open up not the passing game. You think, okay, well, then that will open up the play action pass for J.J. McCarthy. No, I disagree. I think that will open up the QB run for J.J. McCarthy, because J.J. McCarthy can move, and he's fast. And I think
suck at QB run.
And I think they're going to take look at what Peyton Thorne did. J.J. McCarthy is way more of an athlete than Peyton Thorne. Be it's not the Iron Bowl, obviously, and we have to.
That's exactly what Auburn did, though.
That's exactly what they did. And I think that Michigan is going to want to do that, because they're going to see that and say, maybe we can take advantage of that. And I think because think about it. It's 3rd down and 9, and J.J. McCarthy takes off for 20 yards, and then they get into
Not many
field
people
goal,
can stop him. I mean,
and they
fuck.
get into field goal range. Look, Michigan's going to have to play outside their comfort zone if they want to win. I think Alabama, but the opposite for Alabama, if Alabama plays their game, they'll win. But, Michigan, if they can play outside their comfort zone and really get some QB runs, establish Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards and that offensive line, because Michigan has bludgeoned people to death all year. Now, it was probably, it's Rutgers, and Rutgers is in Alabama, and I don't think they're going to be able to do that. But if they do, they have a good chance of winning. Now, let's move on into Alabama. And obviously, I think the X factor for Alabama is Jalen Milroe, because Michigan hasn't seen a running quarterback like Jalen Milroe all season long. But I'm not going to go there. I'm not. You'll say, oh, okay, Tristan, well, you think it's going to be the interior. They're going to stop the run. Yes, I think they're going to stop the run, and I think they're going to be effective, but I don't think that's the X factor. You say, okay, well, Isaiah Bond and Jermaine Burton getting open and making big plays. I think that's going to be a factor, but I don't think that's the X factor. I actually think, and I'm going out on a limb here, the X factor in the game will be special teams. I don't know what it is. A blocked punt, a returned punt, a kickoff return, something like that, because it's going to be a hard-nosed hitting game. If Alabama can even get into field goal range with a good punt return or kick return, will be the difference in the game, I think.
We had didn't we block a punt against Georgia?
No, they recovered a fumble on a miscue from Georgia, and that was the difference in the game. But that's not special teams. That's a good defensive play. I mean, maybe it could be a good defensive play, but I'm thinking maybe a kickoff, a good punt return, maybe a punt return or a kick return for a touchdown.
Maybe Caleb Downs returns something, yeah.
Because at that point in the game, when you're looking at special teams, that's when teams they sort of out-athlete you, just because we have good, fast athletes in space and getting those sort of opportunities. I think maybe they can capitalize on those, and it could be the difference in the game. So I'm going to say Jalen Milroe and special teams. What do you think the Alabama X factor is in the game for them to beat Michigan and move into the national championship game?
Milroe obviously needs to have a game. Which should be expected by now every game, obviously. But I think also Dallas Turner and Deontay Lawson. I think those two guys need to step up. I mean, for instance, Carson Beck was pressured the whole entire game. I mean, the whole game he was under pressure. He was scared back there, it looked like. So if we can get that same amount of pressure and get in the backfield, not even get sacks. I don't even think sacks are important. I think just the pressure of it, throw him off guard a little bit, make him throw a bad throw. Or the guys on the back can easily make up for a bad throw with a pick or something like that. It's my honest to God opinion. I think also they need to put Tresman Marshall in, because that man had a game against Georgia. I think they need to give him some reps and let that dog eat. Let him have to kill him.
Oh, he's going to be in there. He's going to be in there. All right. Jalen Milroe getting outside of the pocket.
Defense. That's
Alabama, this is one of those years where, it's like Alabama will beat you with street ball.
Physical
and just improvisation. I mean, that's what Jalen Milroe does good. He's an ad-lib guy, as Nick Saban would say. And if they continue on that path, I just don't see a whole lot there for Michigan to sort of, roll that back, because it's just going to affect the game to too much of a degree for them to overcome. So, yeah, we got Alabama winning that game, but 2 X factors there. That's great. All right, let's move on to the Sugar Bowl and Texas and Washington. Let's start with Texas, okay? If you're Texas, and you're going into New Orleans and you're trying to win a football game against a good passing team, a good team overall, to be quite honest with you. I know they're from the Pac-12. Let's not hate them too much. What is your path to victory and what is your X factor?
You play Texas football. I think you played just with Alabama and every other opponent you came in with this season. And I think you play Texas football. You play smash mouth, run the ball. You control the clock like they did against us, Alabama. 100 plus rushing yards against Alabama when they beat us. Like I said earlier, I think 350 plus passing yards against us. So I think you control the clock and you run. Worthy is, I think, a top 5 receiver in the league easily. From what he's done this season, I think you play smash mouth football like Texas does, and I think it's, my honest opinion, Texas first Bama in the national championship this year.
Yep. I 100% agree. I think Texas can run the football and win. I mean, I just think it's one of those games, unfortunately, and I think that people, when they say that Washington, matches up against Texas, well, I think they're wrong.
No chance.
I just think they're wrong. I think that Texas can run the football. I think they can stop the run. Now, look, Michael Penix is gonna. He's got
some plays.
All right, we'll get into that because we got to get into the Washington X factors. But I'm gonna stick with Texas. I know I'm getting off track. Texas. Okay, you've already said running the football. That's an obvious, easy one, which is true. But let's think about this. What about what Texas does, Washington does really well, and that's throw the football. Texas got after Jalen Milroe. They play really good pass rush. And Washington's O-line is no pass rush slouch. They can protect the quarterback. But if Texas can get pass rush pressure, get some sacks, and make Michael Penix uncomfortable, because I know people think Michael Penix this, Michael Penix that, but he has not seen this kind of pressure. He has not seen this kind of pressure from Texas getting up in that booty hole. He ain't seen it, okay? He's not seen it. So when Texas gets up in there with their 5-star freshmen and sophomores and all these guys, they're going to get up in your crap. And it's going to be hard to make plays because that's Washington's bread and butter, is sort of timing and, getting that right setup play and then Penix putting it on the point. If Texas can get after him and make him have a bad day, all you have to do if you're Texas is make Michael Penix have a bad day, and you are going to walk out of there easy victors. Easy victors. In my opinion. I think Washington is a lot better pass protection than they are running, and because they're so used to Michael Penix making big plays in the Pac-12. But guess what? If you can't run the ball and you can't get those 3 and 4 yard runs, you can't put yourself in a good enough passing position to be able to make those 3rd and 6s to get a first down. Instead, you're in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and you're trying to make too many big plays. You're just trying to force it at that point. And you're not going to be able to do it if you're Washington, in my opinion. However, I'll start this off moving into the Washington discussion. If you're Washington and you're Michael Penix, you have to have basically a Brady-esque sort of freaking game. You have to make the big passing plays, the big passing first downs, those long 10-plus intermediate passes. Not once or twice, on a consistent basis. You've got to be able to give your quarterback time, give your quarterback some lax to be able to make those plays, make those passes, because Michael Penix can do it. He wasn't second in the Heisman race for a reason. He's there for a reason. He's a good thrower of the football. But can he do it? I don't know. What do you think?
No. I think Pac-12 soft.
Yeah, I think I don't know, man. We've seen it. We've seen it time and time again. Pac-12 just plays Pac-12 defense. And you know what's funny is I've heard a bunch of people say, "Well, Washington, they beat Oregon twice, and man, that front seven and interior of Oregon is so good. Oregon, they're great up front. Give me a.
Who they play?
Oregon is not that good up
Nobody
front.
from the SEC?
Are you telling me that Oregon is as good up front as Texas is? There's
chance.
they're not. Texas is 2 times, 3 times as athletic and as physical as Oregon is. Oregon's bread and butter is their offense. They have good offense. They have no defense. And to be quite honest with you, Quinn Ewers doesn't have to be Superman in this game. He can make the intermediate throws. He might make 1 or 2 bombs. I don't even think he has to do that. I think they can run the ball and play good defense and beat Washington just by who they are up front, because they can, as long as they pressure Penix, I don't think it really matters much what they do on offense.
Agreed.
All right, so are we good?
I think we're good.
Got anything else?
Bama and Texas and Natty, and then
so too.
We'll go from there.
Down.
Yep.
Roll Tide.
I think we're gonna get that rematch.
I think so
and listen,
too.
And you know what's gonna be the best part?
What's
Is
that?
Texas wasn't even a part of the revenge tour, but they've made themselves a part of it now. And you know what that means? That get back is a motherfucker. We already put Tennessee and LSU down this year.
Hey, and
now we're gonna have to do it to Texas again.
Yep. And people say,
Texas now.
It's hard to beat a team twice and all that stuff, and Alabama and Texas. But hey, we're gonna wait and see if we get there first. And then we'll have a whole nother program on what we think on that game. Obviously, we think that's the way things are going to go, but you never know in this sport. That's why we play the games, and that's why the sport is so damn beautiful.
It just means more.
It just means more in the SEC, and which Texas is a part of now. They're chanting SEC in their games now. So, hey, good for them. I hope it's Alabama and Texas. We never know how these things are going to go.
What a way to usher Texas in.
I hope it goes the way we think it is, but we'll wait and see, and we'll be there to talk about it after the new year and going into championship weekend. We'll be there to talk about it. So,
of course.
Thank you for tuning in, guys. We'll see you on the next one.